Hey, what's up guys, Rudy here. I'm kind of in a mode right now, in a mood, Bible thumping mood, I guess. And if y'all are off put by Bible stuff, I actually suggest that you kind of listen and pay attention to what I'm about to say, because this has little to do with actually being a Christian and more to do about the order. I've talked about the order of God before, which is really, you can think of it as more along the lines of the order of life, the order of human nature, if that makes sense. Um, God over Christ, Christ over man, man over woman, women over children, that order. And you'll see in a lot of households today, even Christian households and many Christian households, where the order is reversed, where the woman is the head of the household and the woman takes their orders from Lucifer, essentially, the serpent, like the thoughts that whisper into her ear, and she projects all her nonsense, she projects all her anxiety, all of her, like all that nonsense, the depression, the emotions. She projects all of that shit onto the family, onto the household, onto the kids, onto the husband. The husband just goes along with it because he's weak, right? That old chestnut. So Ephesians chapter 5, we're going to scroll down a bit. And like I said, this says instructions for Christian households. But just to again preface this, this has little to do with being an actual Christian. Alright, just to start off, verse 21, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church, without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. In this way, husbands ought to love their wives as their bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one has hated their own body, but they feed and care for their own body, just as Christ does the church. For we are members of his body. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united with his wife, and the two will become one flesh. This is a profound mystery, but I am talking about Christ and the church. However, each one of you must also love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. And really, the hint to me is this last little part, and it just depends on the translation, right? Whatever version of the book you want to read, it's going to have the gist, but this last sentence, where it says the wife must respect her husband, that's really what it boils down to, is the absolute lack of respect for the women who, they pick their husband, right? And I think I brought this up before. I think I have an audio recording I haven't released yet, where I talked about how women are gatekeepers, how women are the controllers or the gatekeepers of, let's just say, the womb of humanity itself, in a way. So you can think of it as women are the ones who choose the man. Like, there's this narrative going out there that, since the dawn of time, it's been like, oh, women are abused and it's a masculine world and blah blah blah, and to an extent it is. But the women are the ones who kind of propagate that by choosing men that are either weak or too domineering or abusive or whatever. It's like, they're like, women are the gatekeepers, but they like to pretend that like they're the ones that are being abused. Like, men just came along, the man came along and waved his magic wand in front of her and said, "Ooh, you're my wife now," and that was the end of it. It was like she had no choice or something. And it may have been like that back in the day, where the father and the mother, or the father mainly, would give away the daughter to another, to kind of like give away almost like parental rights, like the husbandry thing I've talked about, where it's like you give away your daughter to the proper man that the father chooses, in order to make sure the daughter is taken care of and is safe and all that. And it's supposed to be the father's judgment that kind of deems it so. But we don't do that stuff nowadays. So women kind of rule their own worlds, and it's to me at least, it's been hell ever since. But like I said, there's a narrative going around where it's like, oh, men and women back then. Women back then were just so abused, and they were treated as property and blah blah blah. And it's like, I don't know. It's just it's just really suspect and kind of stupid to me. But like I said, you have a lot of households right now that are female led, that are women led. Like the wife is the head of the house, and it's not the proper order because women don't have the capacity to run a household in that way spiritually. I'm not talking about, look, here's the thing, I'm not talking about material, I'm not talking about financial. Like a woman can run the finances if they need to, if they have the skill set to do it, and a lot of women do have the skill set to, you know, manage a checkbook. And I know it's there's cases out there where that's just not the case at all, and the man's better off doing it. But I'm talking about in spirit, as in, like I said in this last sentence, like a respect for her husband, a respect for herself, because if she doesn't love her husband, if she doesn't love and respect her husband, she's not loving and respecting herself. She is in control of her womb. You know, the church is no different, because we have a lot of churches now that are female led as well, where we have like women preachers basically pretending to be holy and all that, because they're just as full of shit as the men are. Only the men have in my opinion, the male pastors and the male preachers have a better chance of, I don't know, being spiritual leaders. And it's, to be honest, like, it's all a sham anyway. And you think, to put it in perspective, like the people that go to church are already confused. You know, they're seeking answers, they're seeking God, they're seeking that light that's already within themselves, right? And the church does a very good job of leading them away from that light, to make it's like, oh, you're not supposed to meditate, you know, that's the devil's work. And don't ever introspect and, you know, suppress all your emotions. Don't ever examine yourself. Don't ever, you know, think about these things. Just read your Bible and get on your knees and shut up. It's like, you think the Christians are confused enough having a male pastor or a male preacher up on the pulpit. It's like double, triple worse, like quadruple worse for when there's a female at the lead, because they really don't know what they're talking about. Like, they don't have it in them at all, because God does not work through females, does not work through the women, especially married women. Because in my opinion, once you're married, that light has to come through the husband. But I do think that women can be receivers of God's light. They can be receivers of God's light. So it's like, but if they don't have the respect for their husbands, then it's just not going to work, because they're going against the grain. Because like I said, it's like they're the ones that picked the man. They did it. It's not a one-way street. It's not a one-way street. So it's like this bogus, stupid narrative going around that women are somehow not in control of who they marry or who they get along with or who they decide to lay in bed with and have a baby with. And I don't know, just the penis magically went into the vagina and the baby came out. Oopsie daisy. And it's like, oh, I married the wrong man. Let me divorce him and I'll move on to the next man. Do. And it's like, if y'all like really sit back for a second, especially my female viewers, like step back for a second and just think about this. It's like, you have a woman, like you're a woman, you lay down with a man, you know, you made a huge mistake because turns out he was just pretending to, I don't know, to be in love with you or whatever. He said the right thing at the right time. You spread your legs for him. A baby popped out 9 months later. Turns out he's just a jerk who just wanted some on the side, and a lot of dudes are like that. Like, I won't lie, a lot of guys are like that. But instead of trying to make it work, you're in the proper social situation to kind of dump them, right? To get rid of them. Either you have a line of simps on the side who are going to help you out, or your mother's going to help you out, your grandmother's going to help you out, and all that's evil, by the way. Like, if you have if you're a single mom and you have your mother and your grandmother helping you out, or, you know, even a grandfather or your parents, or both parents are helping you out, like, that's wicked, because they set you up for failure as well. Because for one thing, they didn't teach you right. They didn't warn you against these men, these boys. And number two, they gave you too much of a cushion. They gave you too much of a safety net. And that gave you, in a way, subconsciously, they gave you permission to like screw around too much instead of teaching you to treat your body with respect. You just kind of went crazy with it. And, popped a child 9 months later. And now you have all this responsibility. The man can go away. And a lot of y'all aren't happy about that. It's like, how come the man gets to just walk away? It's like, well, the women have the children. So it makes total sense that the man just has almost like the freedom to just walk away. And there's spiritual consequences for that. So don't think that a man for a second is getting away with it. Because once they snap out of this psychosis that they're in, they're going to realize how retarded they are. And they're going to yearn for that fatherhood. And I'm telling you, it happens. It happens to a lot of men. And a lot of men do regret acting like that in their youths. Because it's usually, young guys in their 20s and 30s that act like that. And then they get into their mid-30s, 40s, and they realize how stupid they're being. They realize that they may not realize it on a conscious level, but definitely in a subconscious level, it's like they realize that they fucked up in a sense that they I don't know, it's just men, like guys, fathers have a deeper spiritual connection to their children more than women do. And the child coming out of the mother is just the physical thing. It's not a spiritual thing at all. And it's not instant, right? Like, I didn't feel a connection with my daughter until I reconnected with my dead father. And that's when I realized that I was a father and that I had to take this seriously, because there's spiritual, not only there's spiritual consequences for it, but it's like I realized the deep connection between child and father, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm kind of sort of babbling because I'm trying to put it into words. It's hard to put this kind of things into words. So, really important part here, which is actually what caught my attention, highlighting it right here. It said, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united with his wife, and the two will become flesh. And the two will become one flesh. So, I've talked about this before, till the cows come home. Big emphasis on my channel has been this idea of getting away from your parents. And it's such a small part in this verse, right? I mean, in this chapter, that so many people are just going to skim over. And to be honest, and like I said, this is the part that caught my attention, where this idea that a man leaves his parents in order to become his own light, to discover his own light, to become his own household in a sense, to become his own God in a sense. And girls go through this too. Like I've talked about the movie Inside Out 2, where Riley, in order for her to kind of overcome her more mother-centric emotional nature, that trauma, she had to get away from both of her parents and be out on her own for a little bit to actually discover to discover the real her. And in my opinion, women have to go through this as well. But like in modern day, they can do that. Society is set up for women right now to be alone, which is for better or for worse, I don't know. But women aren't taking advantage of this the way they're supposed to, or the way they could, the potential that they could. Because instead of being alone in order to discover who they really are, they get away from their parents and they're alone and basically get like waist deep in debauchery, right? And guys do this too, don't get me wrong, but the women have an opportunity to really find themselves in this way by getting away from their parents and all of that. And I don't mean getting away from their parents by moving across the street or whatever, or being in the same town, just moving a few blocks down or a few streets down. It's like, no, you have to get the hell away. Like, you'll move to another town if you can. Like, just get away from your parents. Get away from your mother, especially, because it's like, she's the one who's really keeping you in this cage, and she wants to keep you in this cage because she wants you to be her little girl for the rest of your life. Same with boys. They don't want you to leave. A lot of mothers really want to keep the boys hypnotized in order to make them their new husbands. And it's really sick. It's like it's essentially incest. It's really gross. I see it all the time. Like I get to see it all. I get to see that every day at work, okay? Like really young boys. When I say young boys, I mean like in their 20s, like men, like dudes that should be out in the world becoming men and discovering what it takes to be a man. Instead, they're going to the store and hanging out with their mommies, okay? Just to put it plainly. You know, the story that's in the Bible as well, and I plan to do this in a separate video, where I talk about the story of Jacob and Esau, which are the sons of Isaac and Rebekah. So Jacob was like, they called Jacob the dweller in tents, which is basically essentially saying like he's like a stay-at-home mama's boy, in other words. And Esau is like the kind of Neanderthal caveman type who, you know, goes out and hunts, and you know, he wears furs and he uses a bow and arrow or a spear or whatever. So his brother, they're twins, right? And Esau is considered the oldest, Jacob's considered the youngest. And Jacob's just kind of a mama's boy, under his mama's wing all the time. And Esau is you know, his father's son, essentially. And you'll see the same thing kind of play out in today's world, where the son is in a kind of in a subconscious level, maybe even in a conscious in a conscious level as well, where the son will kind of embrace the weakness in himself in order to, as kind of an excuse to be with his mom all the time, to be with his mommy. And kind of make excuses like, well, the economy's bad, you know, property's too much, and to be honest, I get it, man, like, but the story with Jacob is that, and it really just plays out as a just like a twisted collaboration between son and mother against the father. And you'll see that play out a lot too in the world if you just pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to this family dynamic, and it's all in the Bible. So to anybody out there who thinks I'm full of crap, I'm sure there's a few of you out there who just don't believe me when I say these things. It's like the same things played out in Old Testament. And the thing about Jacob is that he still founded the 12 tribes of Israel, so it's like, and I don't really give a shit. Like, I don't give a shit about the specifics. To me, the overarching kind of theme is that as pathetic as Jacob was, he still had like a redemption in a sense. Not necessarily a redemption, but he still had the light in him. He still had potential despite being this kind of little weasel of a boy. You know, hiding under his mother's skirt until it was time for his big brother to kill him. Like his big brother wanted to kill him. Like he tricked his father, or rather Jacob and his mother tricked the father into giving up the inheritance to him by pretending to be Esau. And Esau was pissed because they did it to him twice. But here's the thing about it though, instead of confronting the mother, instead of the father and the other son, instead of the father and Esau confronting the mother, instead they went after Jacob. Which to me, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much how it goes too, despite the wrongness of it. But I think that's it, guys. I kind of rambled on way more than I thought I would. But I think I got the message across pretty well. If y'all have any questions, let me know. Take it easy.